I've started it now.
Thank you.
Let me just stop the recording.
Oh, okay. I'm
Chair,
gonna call this, yes,
Chair Paul, Director Edwards is now with us.
great. Welcome, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. It is October 10th, 11 a.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's have a roll call vote, please. I mean, a roll call for attendance.
Director Roberson,
Here.
Director Anderson,
Here.
Director Riley, Director Edwards,
Here.
Director Malik,
Here.
Vice Chair Adams,
Here.
Chair Paul.
Here.
We have a quorum of the board.
Could I add that I joined?
All right.
It just
Director,
says Alvin Edwards on here.
Alvin, how you've changed.
Oh, yeah. My goodness. He's had a makeover. I'll try to change that right now.
All directors are present. Okay. Are there any additions or corrections to our so far one item agenda?
Well, we added a second item.
Two items.
Two items in it.
Okay. Take that as a joke. Let's proceed. I guess we can
No, we
take
do.
public comment on the action item on our agenda.
Yeah, Director Paul, or Chair Paul, just so you know, there is a second item regarding engagement for the California Coastal Commission hearings on November 17th. So the first is to consider the contract for public outreach services with Wellman Ad. The packet that was sent to you has a copy of the draft agreement. Stephanie Locke put a lot of work in to make sure it has everything it's supposed to have and none of the things it's not supposed to have. The section 12 of the second or the last sentence on page 4 of the agreement includes the language you requested about representing any district director running for election. The fees reflect what was approved by the board in terms of a not to exceed amount, and there is an attachment A, which are the basic scope of services. So I think it captures everything that we sought. I can report that even though we haven't approved it, he's already earned his keep with a distribution list of about 24,000 email addresses that reside in the district, which will give us some leverage we didn't previously have. So things are looking good.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I stand corrected that it's actually 2 items on our agenda. I see the engagement to participate in Coastal Commission hearings in November is the second item. So we will address both.
I had a question on the contract.
Please.
Yeah, Dave or Dave, in section 8B, it says district reserves the right to specify individual employees, sub-consultants. What is the purpose of that? I mean, what does that accomplish?
Yeah, let me grab that. Typically, it's when there's a heavy reliance on subcontractors. If we know of some that we like and some that we don't like, or we've had a bad experience with, it just gives us the authority to kind of reach through the consultant.
That's exactly what I would say too. Yeah, it just gives us a little bit of ability to have input if we wanted to have input.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's a preventive clause more than an assertive clause from your point of view.
Yeah.
As I kind of see it.
Yep.
Oh,
Since we've started with questions, why don't we continue with questions from directors and then we'll take public comment on item. Are there other questions?
I have just a very small comment on a word on page 11. It's small. Exhibit C, section 2. last sentence. I think it's supposed to be defend and hold harmless, not save harmless. Is that right?
I'll let our-
Save harmless is more of an old fashioned way of saying the same thing, but many
Okay.
contracts will say that and say,
Never-
will save use harmless.
Okay,
Has the same meaning.
thank you. I've never seen it.
Well, I
When
thought
we
I had
wrote
actually
this-
edited it, but
Yeah, we wrote this first draft in 1796. So
There you go.
Okay. Then we should save it for old time's sake.
So I have a couple of questions, but I'd like to give the other directors a chance to ask their questions first. Any other questions? So one thing I notice is okay, this proposed agreement goes to June 30th, 2023. So is that timing, which is relatively short time, is that timing because of our budgeting process?
exactly. We try not to obligate a future board for consulting contracts, so we renew them. You remember that long laundry list of renewals every June board meeting, sometimes
do.
July.
I do. Okay. And as you all know, since we've all read this, this contract provides for a process for renewal of the contract. I have one question about the condition that you included as we requested at the previous board meeting on conflict of interest. It's on page 4 of the contract, the section 12, interest of agency, saying that, among other things, that Wellman Ad agrees not to manage a political campaign for any candidate running for the water management district, which is exactly what we asked for, and that's good. My only question about it is there a need to put a time frame around that condition, such as for the duration of the contract or for some time period after the contract ends? I
Yeah,
guess
sure.
it's a question for, okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
well, I was just going to say the contract right now is through June of next year. At that time, we would be recreating another contract for him. And if the board wishes to continue to have that requirement, if we were to continue services, it would be appropriate at that time to remove or modify that language. So I think right now, this is what you've asked for, and that's the contract that would be in effect until next fiscal year.
So as I understand the language that's in there now, it would be binding for as long as till the end of the contract.
Right, exactly. And if and if you saw great fortune in representing somebody running for director of the district, then he would drop this contract in favor of that. But yeah, basically, it's while he's under contract for public outreach services, he would not be in a position to manage a campaign.
Okay. so
Question.
If we extend the contract, then we'll revisit that along with any other terms. Last question I have is about on the scope of work, Exhibit A. And I just didn't recognize some of the acronyms in the list towards the bottom of the page under the heading Other. I don't know.
Oh, yep. So Aqua, Association of California Water Agencies, CSDA is California Special Districts Association. AWWA is American Water Works Association. And Water World, OpFlow, and Source are publications of various water associations.
Okay,
So occasionally, well, you'll see it in the Aqua News quite often. Somebody does something special. There's a little blurb in there, or the district does something. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
And
Question.
my last question, I'll just finish up with this and then we'll turn to you, Director Malik. Submitting the annual award applications is in the scope of work under Other.
yeah.
And I was a little bit surprised that would be a function assigned to our consultant as opposed to staff. Can you address that?
Yeah, so it depends on where and which, but for example, for water reuse, we received awards for outreach with our joint videos, or in one case, gosh, I wish I could remember the song, but it had kind of a little rap sound.
Way Out West.
Way Out West. Thank you. Way Out West. The video production was done by our outreach consultant and submitted on behalf of Pure Water Monterey. Some of the, I think the outreach award we got from Aqua, the application was, or no, maybe it was the CSDA.
Yeah, it was a joint effort between
Yeah.
staff and the outreach consultant.
But it's a part of our outreach activities occasionally if we have something to crow about. And so getting an application into the organization, or as I said, doing the production values for an award.
Thank you. Director Malik.
Yes, this says a not to exceed contract. Is there any breakdown of hourly rate and stuff like that we, and the billing, it's the monthly billing will be spelled out?
Yes.
Or is this a lump sum?
Right. It's a retainer. So we've got several consultants on retainer who, in effect, invoice us the first week of a month for the following month. So
And
that check
there
is
is Exhibit B,
I was
the
gonna-
schedule that has a monthly retainer per month, but a minimum hourly commitment of 45 hours per month.
So if the payment is made in advance, how do we know that it is 45 hours or less?
right. And we don't. And there's a bit of honor involved. And the expectation is there will actually be some months where if there's not enough work, that'll more than easily be made up in the months where there's more than enough work.
Actually,
Generally
the-
speaking. Yeah.
the payments are made after, if you see number 2 method of payment, I'm sorry, section 2B method of payment. Yeah, they submit for the monthly billing, and then the district pays.
So the payment is made after
After the fact.
not
Well, not completely, Stephanie. I mean, TFG and JEA all submit their invoices in advance. So you'll get,
Okay,
we get like the November invoice for
for the retainer, and then a follow-up invoice at the end of the month for any other expenses. That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly. The
Yes.
out-of-pocket stuff.
That is
so
correct.
so if there is an adjustment, it needs to be made in the following month's payment.
Yeah, it's not an exact tracking of hours. You know, the agreement is you're a big boy. This is what we're expecting you to do. And if we begin to find out that the services don't require it, then we would get into negotiation on an amendment. If we find out that the services are 60 hours a month or more, then chances are we'd be negotiating in the opposite direction. But all of these type of contracts are a little bit like, let's be adults here. We know what we think the hourly expectation is, but it's not a guarantee. It's more of it's the honor system, if you will.
So when an invoice is submitted, does it specify how many hours are spent?
No, only if we had some other activities like an event or so forth that would be billed beyond the normal.
So what happens if the hours are less?
Right. So for a month or, an occasional month, if the hours are less, we pay the full retainer. If we begin to see that the hours are always less, that we're just not leveraging our consultant, then we'd renegotiate the fee based on reduced workload. We fully expect that the hours will be met and probably exceeded with frequency, but again, it's not truly an hourly rate. It's a retainer based on an expectation of a number of hours.
I see that Director Anderson has a question, and so does Director Riley. After that, I would like to welcome Phil Wellman into the discussion and see if he has anything to add on any of these questions that are being raised. So Director Anderson first.
George was up first, so.
Okay, Director Riley. Thank you.
I just want to add a little reality to the section where we want to prohibit Wellman services to a candidate. We'll have 3 races coming up in 2023. No, so 2024 election. And it's going to be you, Karen, Amy, and then the replacement for Safwat, which will be Mark Eisenhart. So three people will be in the election running, mode in 2024. And so the next time the contract comes up a year from now, that'll be the reality we'll be dealing with, I think, for the following contract. Just adding a little flesh to the bone.
Yep.
Thank you. Director Anderson.
Yeah, I'd like to just, I don't know if this is what Director Malik was referring to, but the last, the company that we had previous to now that really didn't get much done in this regard. I don't know if we withheld any payments or if the contract was stopped when nothing was happening, but I can understand the concern. But I wouldn't expect that here, but I also know that we were really frustrated with the lack of activity. I was.
Yes, that did happen. It's true. I'm not expecting that.
Yeah.
This time. Any other questions or comments from our directors or general manager? Then Phil, welcome to the discussion. Sorry, I didn't welcome you properly earlier. Is there anything you'd like to say to address any of the questions that have been raised or to make us aware of that we haven't mentioned?
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. Excuse me. Insofar as, pardon me, insofar as what I'm being paid on a monthly basis and how the retainer is being handled, just to reassure anyone, I'll be keeping track of my hours. So if any point along the way, there's some concern about how much time is actually being invested in the projects, I'll be able to let you know.
Thank you. And any other comments about
Not
this?
really,
Okay.
excepting for the fact that the last week has been a very exciting one. I mean, in terms of starting to sort of develop the direction for the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. So I'm very excited about what's to come. And thank you all for supporting this.
Oh, I look forward to working together. I think it'll be a really productive relationship, productive work. And I'm really glad that you're willing and able to take this on for us. If there are no more questions, or are there any comments from the directors? If not, let's take it out to the public.
Yes, good morning. The Board of Directors welcomes your public comment on item number 1. So if you would like to make public input, please raise your hand, or if you're calling in, push *9. And directors, are you able to see the timer?
Yes.
Okay. Chair Paul, I see no raised hands, so I'll return this back to the board.
Thank you, Joel. Do we have a motion on item 1?
Chair Paul, I move for approval of the contract as stated.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Just welcome aboard, Mr. Wellman, best of luck.
Let's have our vote, please.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Roberson,
Yes.
Director Malik,
Yep.
Director Riley,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Vice Chair Adams. Vice Chair Adams.
You're muted, Mary.
I wish I could recuse myself from this vote, but I do not have a valid reason to do so. But I'm going to vote no. And Phil, this has absolutely nothing to do about my impression of what I know you'll be able to do for us. I am so supportive of your talent and I think it's going to be wonderful. But I just cannot help but feel that the optics are just going to be difficult for us. So I'm going to vote no, not, and I hope that you just understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Supervisor Adams, and
Chair Paul.
yes,
The motion is adopted on a vote of 6-1.
very good. Thank you and congratulations.
let's move along. Good.
All right, the second item is to discuss and provide general direction on our engagement in or our participation in the California Coastal Commission hearing on the proposed desal project. The hearing is November 17th. And the nature of the action item goes to whether you want us to go out and hire a lobbyist or act on our own behalf as district staff, or a combination of district staff and available board members if needed. I do want to share my screen quickly just to kind of give you an overview of the commission. So bear with me here for a second. Everybody see this?
Yes,
Yeah.
So this is the existing commission. There are three types of appointees. The governor is this first column. The Senate Rules Committee is this column. The Senate Rules Committee Chair and President Pro Tem of the Senate is Tony Atkins. And then the Assembly Speaker has appointees. Anything in italics is an alternate. So what we're really talking about on the governor's side are these four. And I've shown in red the appointees who will not accept ex parte communication. There are three on the governor's side. You know that the governor is a strong advocate of desalination. So there's been quite a bit of discussion about each. The Huntington Beach project was not approved. Doheny is in Orange County is coming up this month. And then Cal-Am is November 17th. So then on the Senate side, three in a row will not accept ex parte. Supervisor Rice will for her 3-county area, just as will Supervisor Wilson for his 3-county area. But that doesn't help us in either instance. It's questionable whether Roberto Uranga will be attending or if it will be his alternate. Interestingly, his alternate is Rick Rivas, brother to Robert Rivas, assembly member out of Hollister area. But again, so all we're really seeing here on the Senate Rules Committee appointees is Roberto Uranga as accepting ex parte. And then on the Assembly Speaker appointees, these four, Hart, Escalante, Padilla, and that should be Groom, I think, not Kroom. Sorry about that. And she will accept based on our region, Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Mateo, and Padilla out of Chula Vista will accept. So it's really not a huge number of commissioners who are accepting ex parte discussions. And then again, you know, on the governor's side, while these are some very active environmental folks, just by virtue of having been appointed by the governor, although I think Brownsy was a Brown appointee carryover, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be mistaken. But anyway, the biggest opportunities are really just these three, Mr. Padilla, Ms. Groom, and Mr. Uranga, and possibly Rivas to cover both of Uranga's spots. So I'm not sure there's a whole lot to be gained by hiring a lobbyist at this point with 5 weeks remaining. We can put in the requests. We still have some work to do on leave behind information. Any information submitted also has to be basically in advance or simultaneously submitted to staff, and is required to be noted as having been made available to staff. And occasionally a commissioner won't even accept your material if it's not labeled that way. CalAM's been working with a lobbyist, Sue McCabe, who's got long-standing roots with the Coastal Commission. I think Marina is working with Rusty Reyes's firm, with an individual there. So there is some coverage, both for and against issues. But anyway, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want me to take this off so you can just have discussion, see each other at this point?
Sure.
Yeah.
Please, yeah. Thank you for putting that list together. It's helpful to see it all on one page.
Yeah.
And thanks for teeing off the discussion. My own view is that we should, I agree with you that it doesn't make sense to go out and hire a professional lobbyist for this short-term need, that we should make do with our own resources. And and you and I have discussed offline, I'm certainly willing and able to meet with coastal commissioners where that may make sense, and probably some other directors may also be available to meet along with you with coastal committee. I think we should try and meet with all those coastal commissioners that it makes sense to meet with, that will take our meetings, beginning with the chair. And I'm willing to help. Yes, Director Riley.
Well, I'd be willing. I've appeared before them a few times, partly as public member of one way or another. I'd be willing to participate, but also I just want to add that I think our message should be really clear and simple and not complicated. And I hope this discussion goes in somewhat, including some aspect of that, because it's not a question of explaining everything to them. It's explaining our position in relation to the project, and it's very specific, I think. But anyway, I just want to have a little dialogue on messaging on that point.
Do you want to have that discussion now at this meeting, or at a later time?
Well, we don't have much time, so I'd say discuss it today.
Okay. Other comments? Director Malik?
Can the district invite Mr. Wellman to speak since he is on board already?
Oh, you mean to address this question? Sure, that's a good idea. I was going to suggest that maybe he can help us with preparing as we refine our messaging, and maybe a handout that we prepare for meetings, and he could help us prepare those and make sure that the messaging is effective. Phil, would you like to say anything in response to what Director Malik has said?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Dave and I have already discussed with this, and that was sort of a part of our thinking, is that, although he would guide the direction strategically, that I would be involved in sort of reviewing, both the content, any graphics that you might use, and any kind of a leave behind. So I'm perfectly comfortable with doing that.
I think that would be really helpful. Director Anderson?
Do we have, or should we discuss, do we have kind of like the top 3 or 4 points that are likely to have any impact the things that we feel make this particular decision, vulnerable to fact. Are there any? What do you, Dave, think are our strongest arguments? Besides all of our details that we all know so well, that are totally convincing to us.
Yeah. And here we sit with a very transparency-oriented approach to things, but 3 CalAm folks on as attendees to this meeting. I'd
Mhm.
rather take this offline.
Makes sense to me.
But I think all of the issues are well known because the Coastal Commission proceedings have been going on for such a long time. I mean, the staff reports address basically, many issues. We have made comments to a limited extent on some of them, but we kind of know if you look at the Coastal Commission staff reports and other things that are already in the record available on the Coastal Commission website, what the biggest issues are. And as Director Riley has helped us focus to, I agree, it makes sense for us to just explain to the coastal commissioners our position and why, the reasons for our position, not explain the whole picture. But understanding the whole picture is necessary for us to see how we can be effective, add something, specific and important to the conversation. Director Riley?
Yeah, if we're on this topic, it seems to me the political pressures that CalAm is applying, Sacramento and down, that there's pressure on all the members of the Coastal Commission, as well as later on the PUC. And I would like us, at least for the Coastal Commission, to consider, first of all, we oppose it because we have an alternative that is on the verge of getting all the approvals. And so I would like to see that if you approve it, our concerns are these, or our conditions we'd like to see attached to approval if you approve it. And what are those conditions? And one condition could very easily be complete approval of the water purchase agreement with signed agreements later, so that every party is attached to it. And that there's no Coastal Commission approval without at least that condition. And there may be a couple more just in terms of so on. But I would like us to, first of all, say we oppose the project because it's not needed. And second, if you do want to consider it, these are the conditions that we have as high priority, matters. What I want to do is also speak to Monterey One Water in this whatever action we take today. I hope we tell them that we have concerns that the whole thing needs to be completed, water purchase agreement, so that every agency who has supported that position knows that we are very clear on that issue. And that's why I want to try to simplify where we go. Every time I get into a discussion around, well, what do you think about desal and blah, blah, I can go down, 12 different avenues. And that gets complicated, takes a long time. And I never know in my arguments which argument makes the most sense to who I'm talking to. So I don't have a top 3 for everybody. I'll end up with the 3 out of whatever comes up in the dialogue. But I hope that our board can kind of simplify it so that we're clear on what our message is. And I also want to have our message in communication with Monterey One Water, because they have a meeting, as I understand it, coming up before the Coastal Commission meeting to approve what is the outfall agreement that is still, I say, full of holes or not full of holes, because I don't think the diffusers have been attached or that consideration at all. So that's just my comical way of saying there are holes in it without holes.
Well, Madam Chair,
Director Edwards?
some of this, thank you. Some of this, can we discuss at our October 17th meeting? This is going to be this is just if we're gonna hire or not a hire, and who's gonna send out as our front. And a question to Dave is, how much time do you think the Coastal Commission gonna give you?
During the hearing?
Yeah, for the hearing.
Yeah, that's pretty unknown at this point. I could just be another speaker, limited to 3 minutes if they don't make a special carve out. So, we're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I hope we push to get you on for a presentation that with reasonable time, I think the last time you had reasonable time, or was that not reasonable time?
Well, last time, the one where they announced that they were not going to take any action, but it was a full day meeting, neither Paul Shuda or myself got an opportunity to speak. We were there to be available for commissioners' questions, and they were pretty tired by the end of the day and had no more questions. So.
Okay, and my next one, if we hired a lobbyist, how much would it probably cost us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've only been given a referral to one individual, and I did not have a discussion with her about cost.
Okay, and the next one, I know they can speak under public, but do they have another special opportunity to speak, if any?
Yes. I think
Okay,
I believe there's a process for the representatives of public agencies to speak at Coastal, and I don't remember the details. I only saw a little bit of information on their website, but we can find out about that.
Okay. Well, my general direction is with the chair and with Director Riley is we give the general manager the point on this for the Coastal Commission. I think the biggest thing that we got, and we probably talk about on the 18th, is the supply and demand plan that we got. He's the one that knows it good, and he can talk about it very good. So I recommend the general manager to be the point on it.
And I think I've heard at least 2 director volunteers. So obviously Chairman Paul and Director Riley.
We can add them if they want to be part of that.
Exactly. Director Malik had his hand up.
Yes, thank you. First of all, from the incredible data that GM provided us in the last meeting, it shows that the demand is being met by what we are doing along with Monterey One. So I have full confidence in the general manager in being able to represent us. The unfortunate part is the 3-minute possibility, and that is not going to be enough time to make a strong presentation. So I'm glad that that Chairman Paul and Director Riley are willing to attend, and they can coordinate between whoever is going to have to fill in the blanks rather than repeating the same argument. The other thing is that I highly recommend, if that is not being done already, is coordination with Monterey One, which I assume is attending that hearing, and Marina Coast Water District, which I believe is attending the hearing, and to see if there's a coordinated effort to have a strong argument against the desal project.
Yeah. Director Adams, did you want to say something?
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, good points about coordinating so that we don't repeat ourselves, so that we if we have more than one person speaking for the district, that we make different points at the hearing. And if I remember, I think I think there is a way we can get more than 3 minutes for Dave to address, but I will follow up on that and get the right information about that. So, yes, Director Anderson.
Yes, we have a really strong argument with our supply, those numbers. I'm also concerned that the issues that were part of the reasons that this was turned down earlier, the environmental justice issue, the destruction of the habitat, endangered species, and the cost to local people for that water. And a shrunken project would be even more expensive per gallon,
Yeah.
per acre foot. So those are pretty strong. And our vote.
What do you mean our vote?
Measure
did
J.
Oh, okay.
That, yeah. Anyway, I'm
Okay.
thank you. That's
I'm
it.
sure there'll be further discussion, but
Yeah.
unless somebody wants to say something more about specific issues, we can continue offline. Yes, Director Edwards?
Yes, and that's a good question right there offline. Mr. Laredo, when can the board discuss some of the stuff that we need to discuss with the general manager over this? Do it all have to be in public? Or can we set aside a closed session to discuss those items? Because we need to have one.
The district is not a direct party to this proceeding before the Coastal Commission. So I don't believe that we have this is an adjudicatory proceeding in which the district itself has a specific expressed interest. And therefore I'm not aware of the ability to go into closed session to discuss that. Certainly Mr. Stoll can seek advice of individual directors and can inform the chair and vice chair of the general plan. But I don't believe the entire board has the ability to go into closed session on this matter.
Thank you, just clearing it up. Thank you for hitting it.
Could I just suggest, I don't know what's proper exactly, and so that's part of my question, but could I join a chair, vice chair meeting if we're going to have this discussion on this particular item? Then I'll leave for any other discussion. But the point is, can a small committee of our board recommend an action to the full board with a public report at a meeting ahead of the Coastal Commission meeting, which maybe means this later meeting in this month?
Certainly any group of 3 board members can meet and discuss items and provide direction as 3 individuals or with the power of the chair without that being a public meeting.
Director, and I'm willing to be part of a subcommittee of up to 3 directors to discuss this with Dave and David. Do directors think that's a good idea? Or shall we stick with the options of there's the chair, vice chair meeting, and yes, 1 more director could attend. And we could have individual consultations between directors and Dave Stolt. Do you see, does it seem like, would it be useful to form a committee of up to 3 just to discuss this with Dave? What do you think?
I don't mind seeing the chair and vice chair and Director Rowley. If they want to be a committee, 2 of y'all have a meeting, but have a regular meeting. But I think that regular meeting that y'all have for chair, vice chair could be moved up, because I like to have something come out before the October 17th meeting to the
Mhm.
board, which way we want to go. So if nobody else on the board object, I'd say set that committee.
Okay, since we have that more or less in place, we can, Director Adams, is that, you agreeable to that?
Yeah, I am. I'm just wondering if there will be a separate conversation that we should have with Phil and Dave as our subgroup to start to talk about how we're going to frame what it is that we want to say. And I feel like that's really going to be an important part of this. I know we're just supposed to be giving direction at this meeting today, but I don't know whether, I think it would be beneficial if the subcommittee had an opportunity to meet with Phil as well.
Absolutely, I totally agree. He can help us with framing and messaging for sure. Okay, I don't think that we really need to entertain a motion as.
No, I think general direction is, has been made. We don't need to take action. We would have if you wanted to go out and hire a lobbyist. And
But Madam Chair, we have not yet gone out to the public on this.
Thank you, Dave. I'll did you want to, after Dave Stoll, did you finish what you wanted to say and then we'll
oh
take-
no, I'll end up communicating with Chair, Vice Chair, and George and Phil, and we'll try to get a couple of dates where we can do it. Just some brief brainstorming sessions here.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you. Let's take it out to the public now. The public wishes
Yes.
to comment on this item.
All right, so if you would like to make public input on item number 2, please raise your hand, or if you're calling in, push *9. And Sarah, please share the timer. And at this time, I would like to invite Melody Crislock. Melody, when you are ready, please present your comment.
Hi, Melody Crislock. I have lobbied the coastal commissioners twice now in 2019 and 2020. So I just thought I'd kind of provide some experience here. They are very concerned and very interested in the big picture. Of course, you have to organize your talking points, but I was amazed at especially Brownsy, how much she did not know about the situation and how grateful she was when I talked to her, or I think it was 2020 that time. But they are super busy. They, of course, have their staff report, but they want to hear how this really impacts people. They're very interested. That's all I can say about that. I think it's far too late for you to hire a lobbyist. I think Dave would be your greatest lobbyist because yes, the water supply and demand report is a big piece of this. The fact that we don't need this desal plant is critical. You get about half an hour usually with them. Now they might give Dave more, but for the general public, they would give me a half an hour to speak with them. So you have a lot of time to really make your reasons known and explain them. So that has to happen long before. You should be setting up meetings now. And then because as the day of the Coastal Commission, it's a done deal. They've already made up their minds. Although I do hope that your agency does get, at least the time of an organization, which I think is going to be 5 minutes, but you might be able to get more being a partner agency. We'll see. That's pretty much the big picture for them. They want the details. I remember Donna Brownsy going, what, really? Into something that she had no idea of what was going on. Because sometimes the bigger picture, the background of how this affects people doesn't really get communicated in all the details of water supply and demand and all of this. And I think one really important thing to bring up will be the return water agreement and how that impacts one set of ratepayers paying for another group's water, which I don't think has been really talked about much. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this, and good luck. I think you'll be great lobbying the Coastal Commission. Thanks.
Thank you. I think there are 2 more
That
members.
is, that is correct. Susan, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I want to support this. I do think Dave is very articulate and he will be able to explain to the commissioners very clearly the reasoning behind not supporting the desal plant. And I do think the supply and demand report is going to be key to that. I appreciate him doing that. I think remembering the environmental justice issues here in terms of the cost and in terms of the cost to the environment. And I'm sure Marina will be making their case, but totally support what's going on and why they don't want that there. And we have been looking at the return water agreement, and it really does look very punishing for us and beneficial for people that aren't going to put much skin in the game. I'm also seeing that Cal-Am is starting to tout this as a regional solution. We need to know that this is not a regional solution. And I do think you should address the governor's appointees as well as the others. They all need to hear the other side of the story. They've been getting an awful lot of time from the other side in terms of lobbying. So I appreciate that you're doing this. And I think Dave and the other board members will be very good reps to do this, and appreciate all your time and work. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We have another member of the public, I think, who wants to speak.
That's correct. Yes, so at this time, I would like to invite the number ending in 312. And you would need to push *6 to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Margaret Ann Copperell. I support what the previous speakers have said, so I don't want to repeat any of that. They did an outstanding job. I recommend that you I recommend denial, complete denial without conditions of this project, because from Marina's perspective, the project would be a disaster for our area and for the Salinas Valley groundwater basin. But I want to thank you for hiring Mr. Wellman. I think he'll do a great job for you. I want to congratulate Dave Stoltz for doing a really unbelievably superlative job with his presentation on supply and demand, and I agree he will be outstanding before the Coastal Commission, as well as, the board directors who have volunteered to represent our district. So thank you so much for all your hard work, and I wish you the very best, and God bless you and bless your work. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret Ann. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
Yes. At this time, I would like to invite Elizabeth. I apologize if I butchered your name there.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. This is Lisbeth Visser, Citizens for Just Water. Just a word of caution, just like in November 2019, speakers might not get more than 1 minute each. And as an established group, Citizens for Just Water had been allowed to submit a 5-minute video for public comments for the September 2020 meeting, which was cancelled. And for the upcoming meeting, we are in touch with the EJ department at the Coastal Commission. And we now have been told that groups can have several speakers for 2 minutes each for a total of up to 5 minutes. So it seems that we will need to use 3 speakers to submit our 5-minute video. So I just recommend being in touch with them and being in touch with the Coastal Commission and really get confirmation of what will be allowed. It seems that the chairperson can decide, and it seems that it will be different than 2 years ago. So thank you for all you're doing and good luck.
Thank you, Lisbeth.
Chair Paul, I see no raised hands, so I return this back to the board.
Thank you, Joel. And thanks to all the members of the public who spoke. Any remaining comments, questions? I will review the the rules about ex parte communication. So we know exactly what they are and we're sure to follow them. And I'm sure Dave Stoll, you're probably already familiar with them since you've done this before, but I'll review them as well. And I think we have covered what we needed to cover today. If there are no
Thank
more-
you.
I will adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
you all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, George, go Warriors.
Yes.